Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I finished in January, and in the month I finished a total of 11 books, which I think is pretty good because I did get a few of my longer reads in, which I was really happy with. During January I did participate in 2 readathons. I did the Winter Biannual Bibliothon and the 24 and 48 hour readathon. I do have a wrap up for that specifically if you want to see the books I read, challenges they counted for. I'll link it so you guys, if you're interested in that, you could definitely go check that one out. But this is just my overall monthly wrap up and I am going to go by rating, so let's just get started. So the book that got the lowest rating for me, which was a 1 star, which I don't usually give out a whole lot of 1 stars, but yeah, this is my first 1 star book, maybe possibly the only 1 star I give out this year, but that one was Red Riding Hood and the Big Sad Wolf Volume 1 by Hachijo Arata. It follows this girl who is Red Riding Hood and she is a pyromaniac basically, and she goes into this forest and she's just setting a bunch of stuff on fire, and she ends up setting the wolf's house on fire, and then she likes to see him cry, so she kind of follows him around, and it was a weird manga. I didn't hear anybody talking about this before I picked it up. Usually I tend to be okay with most mangas, but this happened to be the one type of manga that I just really don't like. It doesn't really have a storyline. It's just a bunch of little sections of kind of events that happen, but there's no complete storyline, and I honestly should have just DNF'd it after like the first couple chapters, but since I was reading it for a readathon, I decided to continue on with it and finish it, and it was under 200 pages, so I figured, it doesn't take too much to read. But honestly, I had to force myself to finish reading this. There was just no point. I didn't see a point in it, and I didn't like it at all. So yeah, worst book of the year so far for me. Moving on, I'm going to talk about the only book that I gave a 3 star to, and that was A Girl on the Shore by Anio Asano, which is another manga. Honestly, I am still kind of weird. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to rate this once I finished it, so I kind of just settled on 3 stars. This centers around a boy and a girl. They are both in high school, and at the very beginning we're following this girl. We don't really know what's happening, but she ends up talking to the main boy character, and we find out that it seems almost like she got assaulted by her boyfriend or a guy she wants to date or something like that, and he's kind of asking her if she's okay, and then one thing leads to another, and they end up in a sexual relationship, and it was really random. I don't want to say it was random, I wasn't expecting it at all. The little summary on the back mentioned the 2 of them getting into a sexual relationship, and then the boy's brother committing suicide. And so you kind of trying to figure out, or I was kind of trying to figure out exactly how all of it fit together. I didn't like that I didn't get a full story. I just felt like there was so much left off, and I was really unsatisfied with the ending because you go through all of this and you're trying to figure out how these 2 characters fit together and what they're going to do with their lives, and it's just, I don't know, it felt incomplete, and that's why I couldn't give it a higher rating. There was so much focus on the sexual relationship, there wasn't really room for anything else, and I couldn't really do anything with the story. It was okay for what I read, and what I did read made me want to read more, but the story is complete and I don't have anything else, so that's why I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. So I just realized I actually have one more book that I gave a 3 out of 5 stars to, and that was These Vicious Masks by Terrence Schankner and Kelly Zekas. This book follows a girl named Evelyn, and she is living in England in 1882, and basically she is bored with her life and society's expectations of her. In the very beginning of the book, she's kind of stuck in this situation where she wants to go and travel and experience the world, but her mother is just like, no, you need to stay here, basically get married and, settle into the life that you should have. But then one day her sister goes missing, and she ignores her parents and decides to go to London to search for her. And in the midst of that, this guy that she met at one of these parties recently tells her that her and her sister has these healing powers, and you know, he wants their help and all of this stuff, and it's just kind of a lot going on. But I was really excited about this because when I first heard about this, this was pitched as like Jane Austen meets X-Men. It was good, but I wouldn't say it was the best book ever, and I think that might just be because I'm not the biggest fan of historical fiction, and I tried my hardest to just really delve into the story, but I felt so distant from everything that was going on. So I was interested in the plot line and what was going on, basically the plot. But I just felt like I couldn't connect to any of the characters, and that made me not necessarily care all the time of everything that was going on. I was just like, just kind of watching, but I wasn't feeling anything that was happening. So I was kind of disappointed in that, but I don't think that's the book's fault. I think that's just me personally and my reading taste. But this was interesting enough for me to want to continue. Moving on to the next section, I only have one book that I gave a 3.5 out of 5 stars to, and that was Everlist by Sarah Holland. This book follows a girl named Jules, and she's living in this world called Sempra, and in the world of Sempra, time is used as currency. And in the very beginning of the story, her father is running behind or running low on hours, and in order to prevent him from draining himself to make payments for them to live, she decides that she's going to return to Everlist, which is it basically is an estate for the Gerling family, and she decides she's going to return there to work to, you know, get more time. And they actually used to live on Everlist. Her father used to work in Everlist or at Everlist, however you would say that. But they ended up fleeing for some unknown reason at the beginning of the story. And he's basically trying to tell her, no, you can't go there. You know, it's not worth it. I'll just figure something out, or I can handle it. But she ends up going there anyway, and the story basically takes off from there. I was really looking forward to this story. I had heard, you know, once I heard the synopsis, I was just like, that sounds really interesting. I was in that group of people who enjoyed it, but there was still a lot of things that kind of grated on my nerves. This character, the main character, was really unlikable, and she's honestly kind of an unreliable narrator. So at the beginning of the story, you know, she has a lot of memories of being in Everlist, like living at Everlist and all of this stuff, and being around the prince or the two princes, and it's just a lot that was going on with, or I don't know if they're princes, but the two lords or something like that, the lord's son, whatever, I don't know what they're called. But she has memories from when she's like 7 years old, and you cannot tell me that she remembers every single thing that happened when she was 7 and understood everything that happened at that age. And it's clear that she doesn't have clear memories of everything that happened, but she's using these memories to kind of tell her how people are, and, you know, try to get a read on a person and their personality. And I was just like, you don't know these people. You have not been around them for 10 years. So even if they were like this at this age, you don't know if they're still like this now in time that, you know, you've been away for 10 years. And it was just like she carried this opinion of these people from when she was 7 years old. And I was just like, I found it so annoying, because I was just like, Liam, who is basically my favorite character that was introduced in this whole story, she disliked him for something that happened when she was 7 years old. She didn't completely understand what was going on, and honestly, she doesn't know what has happened in those past 10 years that could have changed anything. But she continues to judge him and judge his actions based on this moment when she was 7 years old. And I was just like, are you kidding me? I was just so frustrated with her about that. And then not only that, she was one of the stupidest main characters that I have ever read from. And I hate saying that. But it was things like somebody would specifically tell her, do not do this, do not do that. And she would go and do it. And I was just like, what? are you serious right now? And I get that sometimes you need something to happen to move the story forward, and I can't really judge this because I don't have the best writing skills, I know, but at the same time there are ways that you could change it to make the story still happen, but not necessarily be where the characters making stupid decisions just to move the story along. I enjoyed the plot, but I honestly didn't like our narrator all that much. I'm interested enough, and I will be continuing on with the series duology. I'm not really sure what this is going to be, but I'm interested in continuing on with this because I really want to know how the storyline goes from there, and I just love Liam, and I would like to see more of him. And that's all I have to say, I guess, about that. So moving on to my 4-star reads, which I believe I actually have 4 of those. So let's get into those. So first we have Man Card by Serena Bowen and Tanya Eby, or Ebby. Still don't know how to say her last name and I feel terrible. This was the second book in the Man Hands series duology. I'm hoping it's a series because I really want another story in this. Anyway, not important. This followed Ash, which was one of the friends mentioned in the first book, and Brat, who was like co-worker type of thing. I'm not really sure about this. And I really enjoyed this. And while I was kind of writing out a quick review for myself, I was kind of saying that I hate to say it, but I think I liked their story more than the story that was in Man Hands. It was just, I felt like it was so much more real, and I just really enjoyed it. I have a full review for this one, so you guys could check that out because this was like one of my very first reads of the month, so I don't really remember too many details, but definitely enjoyed it, and I'm really hoping that they decide to make at least one more story together with the other friend that was mentioned in that book. The next one that I finished was XO Zack by Kendall Ryan. This is another one that I really enjoyed. This one followed this girl who randomly met this guy at a party, and she asked him to pretend to be her boyfriend or her date because her ex-boyfriend had showed up to this party, and they had an instant connection, but then next day or within the next couple of days she finds out that he's actually her advisor for her graduate program, and she wants to basically kind of keep it professional because she doesn't want any of that happening, and she doesn't feel like it's the right time for a relationship. I just really enjoyed this. I know sometimes student-teacher relationships can be a little fuzzy, but I think they were both adults, and he was definitely older than her, but I felt like it was done really well, and I really enjoyed it. I'm kind of breezing through these because I do have a written review for this one as well that you could go check out. I'll leave that link in the description, or in the description box. And then the last ebook that I read for the month was Bad For You by Jay Daniels, another book that I got for review, and this one was another really good read, obviously, which is why I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This follows this girl named Shayla. I believe her name is Shayla, and a guy named Sean. I don't remember their names. I'm sorry. But at the very beginning of the story, they're kind of not on speaking terms because he basically rejected her or something like that. Don't remember all the details, but within the story something happens in her family life and he offers her help, and they kind of reconnect and rekindle their friendship, and then things progress to become more than that. And I just thought it was a really good story. It was really heartbreaking, and I wasn't expecting it to be as impactful as it was. My emotions were all over the place with this book, and it was one of those where it didn't have like a full complete ending, but I was satisfied, and I like to see what they had accomplished in the amount of time that the book took place. And the last book that I gave it 4 stars to was Foolish Hearts by Emma Mills. And this book follows a girl named Claudia, and it's at the end of the summer before her senior year of high school, and she accidentally hears the breakup of her school's it couple, and then she ends up getting intertwined with one of the girls that was part of that couple that broke up because they end up having to work together in a school project, and things don't go well, so they're kind of forced into joining the production of A Midsummer's Night Dream between their school and then the all boys school, which is like right next to their school. So honestly, I really wasn't expecting too much from this. I enjoyed this way more than I expected to. It was nice seeing her being able to make new friends outside of the one that she had grown up with, and you know, just do things that she had never done before and experience an awkward sort of start of a relationship. And it was just so cute, and I just really enjoyed it. And I'm definitely gonna pick up her other two books, First and Then and This Adventure Ends. This is so cute. This was a lot of fun. Now moving on to the section of books that I gave 4.5 stars to this month, which is the last section because I didn't give any books 5 stars this month. The first one of those is High School Debut, the 3-in-1 edition, volume 2 by Kazune Karahara, and this one has volumes 4 through 6. I don't really have a whole lot to say about this because, like I said, this is a 3-in-1 edition and it's not the first volume of the 3-in-1 edition, and I just really don't want to spoil any of the story for anybody who might be interested. So this story starts off by following a girl named Haruna, and she is in her first year of high school, and in middle school all she was really caring about was playing softball and reading reading manga. And now that she's in high school, she wants to have her first boyfriend. So she ends up convincing this guy who is a year or two older than her, can't really remember, to become her love coach in order to help her become more appealing to guys so she could get her first boyfriend. So that's basically the very, very start of the story. And this one is just, it covers a lot of things, and I just can't really get into it because there's gonna be spoilers for any part of the story. Just know that I really enjoyed this, and like I said, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Moving on to the second to last book on this list is Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. Obviously it's in the section, so another book I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is the second book / finale to the Monsters of Verity series, which the first book is The Savage Song, and this book was just, yes. I remember reading The Savage Song and I felt this weird distance while reading it. I don't know what it is, but every now and then it happens, and I don't know if it's necessarily because I'm in a weird reading mood or if it's just because I can't really connect to the story. But unlike with that happening in The Savage Song, with this one I was able to just fall completely into the story, and I just loved it so much. I did have a couple issues with this book though. One of my biggest issues was the fact that we go into this book, at the very start of this book, Kate is in a different area of this world, but once she goes back to Verity, we don't get any more of that outside world. And I get that there's a lot going on within Verity, so it's kind of hard to focus on anything else, but there was just so much more. Like, she was in the City of Prosperity, I believe. I don't think this says on here. I'm pretty sure she was in Prosperity, and there's things that were really starting to happen in Prosperity. Like, there were whispers of monsters being in Prosperity, I mean, and we have this whole set of characters that Kate was surrounded by, but then when she leaves, we don't get any more insight into that at all, and I really didn't like that. And also, I wasn't really satisfied with the ending, and I know it wasn't really an ending, it was kind of left open-ended, and I know this was the finale, but I'm kind of hoping, fingers crossed on this one, that she decides to write more in this world, because there are so many things that could be explored. And I can't even talk about this because words are not working for me right now, but this is so good. I said what I had issues with, and I want more. So Victoria Schwab, if you decide, please, if you have time, please write more in this world. I would love it so much. And the last book that I have to talk about, which is also a 4.5 out of 5 stars, and possibly my favorite book for the month, is The Alchemist of Loom by Elise Kova. We start off this story following a girl named Ariana, and she is coming back from this heist to steal something, and she comes across a dragon, and she is wanting to possibly harvest the dragon's organs to kind of sell on the black market. And dragons aren't what we normally think of as dragons. And honestly, there's just a whole lot to this story that I can't really get into in the short amount of time that I want to talk about this book. Just know that I love this book so much. I did have a few issues with it, but overall, for the most part, I really loved it, and I can't wait to continue on with the trilogy. I do have a full review of this book, and I will definitely link that so you guys can hear more of my thoughts on this. So those are all the books that I finished in January. If you read any of these books, let me know what you thought about them down in the comment. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys again in the next one. Bye.